We hear this in our culture all the time. The question's raised, well, I don't get this idea that you have to adhere to all these moral standards. Why can't we make up our own moral rules for ourselves? I was speaking to a group of high school students on this, and it was in the public schools in the Los Angeles area. And one high school kid who was feeling pretty cocky about his ability to get the best of this discussion said, "Look, what's right for you is right, what's right for me is right. We make up our own moral rules for ourselves." And sitting right in front of him at his desk was the latest, most expensive iPhone. And so I just casually walked over to his desk, picked up his phone, and put it in my pocket, and just went on with the session. And toward the end, he started getting kind of agitated when he realized I wasn't going to give him his phone back. And so he finally, at the end of it, he said, "Well, can I have my phone back?" And I said, "No, I'm keeping it for myself." And he said, but you took my phone." And I said, "Well, wait, I thought you said we make up our own moral rules for ourselves. And my moral rules says that people who are older, wiser, and better looking have access to the stuff of people who are younger and less wise. And my moral rule gives me the right to take your phone." And you could see the wheels spinning. He didn't know quite he didn't know whether to get up and punch me or offer some sort of refutation, which he knew he couldn't do. And so I gave him his phone back, and I said, just be careful with that idea that everybody makes up their own moral rules for themselves, because once somebody does an injustice to you, you become a moral absolutist, and your relativism goes right down the drain. Sort of related to this question is, the idea of making moral judgments today, or moral assessments, I prefer to call them, is sort of going out of vogue in our increasingly postmodern culture. I had a friend of mine who was confronted by this, where he had a very good answer for this, where he was on a panel with a number of philosophers and feminists and other folks, and it was about abortion. And he was making a moral assessment, and he said, I think abortion in most cases is morally wrong. And the feminist got right in his face and started reading him the Riot Act and said, "Well, who gives you the right to judge?" And he said, "Well, actually, I think I'm quite qualified to judge because I have a PhD in the subject. I've been teaching on it for many years. I've thought about this a lot. I've written books on it." I said, "I'm actually quite qualified to judge." Which, of course, was not the answer that she was looking for, since she was asking him a rhetorical question, the answer to which was that nobody has the right to judge. And, so the absurdity of that came out because, in reality, what she meant to say was that nobody has the right to make a moral assessment about anybody or anything, which would lead to complete chaos if everybody lived with that. And as he pointed out to her, not even she lived with that, because he insulted her later, and she took offense to that, claiming that he had done something morally wrong by insulting her. So the difficulty, I think, with these kinds of questions is not only is it sort of intellectually incoherent, but it's really difficult to live consistently with the idea that everybody makes up their own moral rules for themselves, and that therefore nobody has the right to judge. And it's traditionally, as we point out in chapter 3 of the book, traditionally there have been a number of different ways that people have tried to make moral decisions based on principles or consequences or self-interest or the cultural consensus, typically what we call relativism. And a Christian ethic that contrasts with that, we would suggest, is a blend of moral principles and moral virtues, that the principles that govern our actions and the virtues that govern the development of our character.